Segirinya's body was laid in its eternal resting house, which to date is still an issue of debate. Yesterday, a story that NTV aired on whether Mpuga was involved in Segirinya Sewanyana release has struck another verbal pandemonium across political platforms. So tonight, we speak to the Honorable Goret Namuga, MP Mawogola County, Mr. Emmanuel Dombo, Communications Director, NRM, and Dr. Sarah Verete from Center for Constitutional Governance and a political analyst. Dr. Verete, Honorable Namuga, and Mr. Emmanuel Dombo, I want to thank you so much for having honored our invitation. A warm welcome to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And let me also use this opportunity to wish you a happy 2025.
Thank you very much, and same to you.
Let me begin with you, Honorable Dombo, as I come this side, because just on Monday, we are going to see the Independent Electoral Commission try to display the voters' register. But what is so peculiar about this voters' register is that when you, as NRM, went around also to look at your yellow book and who is in the yellow book, it appears the numerical strength of the NRM yellow book is 18 million. But guess what? Even the Electoral Commission, National Voters Registers, is 18 million. How did you do that?
First and foremost, allow me to greet our viewers and wish them a happy new year. And given that this is my maiden visit this year on NTV, and I'm coming at a time when we have lost a number of dear colleagues. Just today I heard that the former member of Woman MP for Nakusongola, I don't know whether that is true. I'm yet it is. Yes. She has passed on. Honorable Besisira from Buyaga recently passed on. Honorable Babadiri, and most recently, the Honorable Muhammad Segirinya. Allow me to express my condolences to their families, the people they represented, and all the people of Uganda upon this demise. Because when somebody loses a friend, it's a Ugandan who has gone to be with the Lord, and we have a noble duty to commiserate with the members of the families. As to the politics, recently, I wish I'd known that you are going into the details. I should have come with a report of our digitization exercise that we recently did. And by the way, you're talking about the numbers. These numbers may increase or they may decrease, because in about 2 weeks' time, we are going back the population to do our own voter display and validation of the NRM register for us to delete those who have defected since the time we registered, those who have died, but also to confirm the details about the names of the individuals that have been registered, their NINI numbers, and the telephone numbers and the date of birth. Because we believe that once we consolidate all this information into a digital register, we should be able to conduct successful internal elections, which should minimize the number of independents.
So now you have
but now you are looking at...
So now you have a register, but you're not sure who is on that register. That's why you want to confirm the names.
No, we have a register.
So why are you now going to do it again? Because you just did it a few months back.
Yes, that time when we went, we received petitions that there were farm communities, the herdsmen, who had shifted with their cows to Gulu. And yet many of them come from these other parts of the country.
Why is it always the herdsmen with an issue in the Electoral Commission?
Not only herdsmen, because this is a very valid reason. Not only herdsmen, but
I'm picking the example you're giving me.
We also had students who were in school at the time we were registering. And it is important that we give an opportunity to everybody before the terms open. And that is why we are taking back the register. Right now we have just been, from a printing press, we have just concluded the printing of the registers. We are going to begin loading them. And immediately we finish the NRM day, we are going to take them for display, validation, and also, this is something that has been introduced. At the end of the register exercise, we are going to have village barazas in every village where the register is going to be read verbatim. to say Dombo, he crossed and they cross you. We do not want our administrators to cancel anybody who died, or somebody who has defected, or somebody who has migrated, or to enter any new person without the validation of the village barazas which we are going to use.
So before I go to Honorable Namuga, I just want to have one more question.
The first one is not fully answered.
Yes, Honorable Dombo, yeah. It's fascinating and even very hard to believe that actually the numerical strength of the NRM register is even quite bigger than the National Independent Electoral Commission.
Depending on the difference comes in basically because for us when we are registering the members of NRM, we begin with the 16. 16 is not, when you look at the people who are from 16 to 18, there is a substantial number.
So you have registered children thinking that by now they will have turned 18.
We registered them knowing that by that time, that's why we're digitizing.
But even if that was the case, you have had, NOP will tell you they have 10 million or more, FDC will tell you they have about 6 million or more, and DP and others. We are a country of 45 million, for heaven's sake. Is everybody a voter?
I don't know. First of all, you must know that NRM is a mass party.
But even if
and where almost previously all Ugandans were members of NRM. Secondly, you have a register of your village. I want to ask you that once you hear that the validation is taking place, just pick interest in your village.
I'm coming to engage. I'm going to engage in my village very soon.
You're going to tell us when you come here on the show what happened in your village.
Okay.
Because that could be a sample space.
I'll find out because on this election,
yes.
I am so much interested, and I'm going to my village to engage to validate my name. Let me come to you, Honorable Namuga Goret from Mawogola. What do you make of this, the numerical strength of the NRM Yellow Book vis-a-vis the National Independent Electoral Commission's National Voters Register?
It's interesting to learn and note that NRM is a massive party where everyone belongs. I've just learned from my honorable colleague here. But allow me to greet Ugandans, good evening, and also appreciate my colleagues because this is my first day on this panel. Happy New Year. Yeah, I've never come for this program. This is my first time, so I want to thank you. I appreciate you.
I should apologize on this. How could I have missed such a
for giving me the opportunity to really appearing. So I've heard the details of the Honorable Dombo, but for the NRM, I think this is not new to everyone. He has told you they registered even those at the age of 16. But he had just said, you know, we are coming back to validate our register because there are those who are in school and we have to update our registers. So I don't know whether these of 16 by then were home because it is assumed, there is an assumption that everyone below 18, probably they are still in school. So that already informs Ugandans that NRM is good at manipulating. But even if that was the case, wasn't the case, look at the population of 45 million. How many people do you have of the age of 18 and above, the active voters? And if NRM has 18 million voters, that means almost some of us, NOP will almost have nothing if they have already 18 and the National Register of the Electoral Commission has 18. We appreciate even the Electoral Commission has some gaps. And they are telling you they are going digital. They are going to digitalize. And they have just printed those mass registers to be taken everywhere for validation. We do appreciate what the NRM does, but I want to remind Ugandans that manipulation of registers has started right from their party. But also to remind them that as NRM will be coming to the field to validate their own registers, also the ongoing exercise of the Electoral Commission will be on. Right from 20th. Yeah. So let that confusion not be, let it not be a source of confusion. Yes, because it is beginning on Monday. I'm very worried if NRM is going to be in the field, same field with the Electoral Commission. Yeah. Actually, Honorable Dombo, if you want to at least allow Electoral Commission do its work, allow it first, finish, then you get to the field. Otherwise, they will confuse people. Especially in a country where some people cannot differentiate between NRM, the party, and Uganda, the state. I'm telling you, so these are two different activities. So if really our colleagues respect Ugandans and this mass exercise that involves everyone, no matter the political party, let them allow the Electoral Commission do its work, then they will come later. Two, we've got a challenge. They've just recruited supervisors for parishes and sub-counties. But surprising enough, All these are NRM coordinators. For me in my area, NRM coordinators have been recruited to handle that assignment. So, Honorable Dombo, also as you get back to your offices, this is a non-partisan exercise. It hurts to get coordinators of your opponents, NRM cadres, on all levels, sub-counties, parishes. They are the only ones who have been recruited. Who are wondering? First of all, in Zimbabwe, I even reported to the I reported to some of my colleagues in the Electoral Commission that we lacked transparency on display. Number one, they had to advertise. We needed to have the shortlists. Then later, we needed to have a display of those ones who have been recruited. Fun enough, I went to the district Electoral Commission offices. There was nothing like a display of the list of those who were recruited for that assignment. To make matters worse, people applied for different posts and they were recruited for something different. For example, someone applies for being a parish supervisor, they find themselves being sub-county supervisors. So as the NRM goes down to handle their assignment, all update their registers, which should differentiate two things. Me, I thought these were recruitments to update NRM registers, only to find that this was an exercise within the Electoral Commission. So we still have challenges, and I implore my colleague, if really NRM wishes good for Uganda, you should not mix NRM update, list update.
So if I am a member of the NRM party, am I not supposed to be employed by the Electoral Commission for part-time job like that?
No, but if you are in active politics, why? Why should you be? Why should you be? And you know what is happening right now? If you are found to be a very strong support of the opposition, you will never be allowed. But the people I'm talking about, these have been councillors. They are occupying. They have been councillors. Some of them are NRM coordinators. NRM coordinators. These ones who have been moving around are registering NRM cadres. So it is very, very alarming and unfortunate. So I call upon all Ugandans to really come up, and we are going to bring out this clearly. For Zimbabwe, we've started petitions. We are petitioning seriously to the Electoral Commission because we cannot have a partisan list for supervisors on parishes and sub-counties. Two, you've had this exercise of that is starting on 20th. A form that is supposed to be filled by whoever intends to register. You are supposed to go to the LC for a signature. You are supposed to go to the LC1, go to the LC3, go to the DISO, go to the GISO, and at the district. So how, if you are to imagine a youth who even has no job, imagine of a district rural like Zimbabwe. It's not like Kampala here, where somebody moves from one door and finds the L1 chairperson. Within 1 kilometer, you have the office of say, the mayor or the town clerk. But look at a village where somebody has to walk from Matete to the district Zimbabwe. You need 5 signatures. After, yes, for those forms that are going to be, the new forms that are going to be filled. I don't know that you've gotten that update. It is very... Sorry? For the short-time job, or because you want? No, I'm talking about the registration itself. To be registered
as a voter.
Yes, as a voter. That form that is supposed to be filled.
We need to look into that.
The process is simply too much. You have to write from the LC1 up to the district. Then you have to come back and be registered. So all this should be looked at, as he tells us about his NRM register. These are the guys in power.
Okay, let me come
you cannot differentiate between the Electoral Commission.
Would you want to invite officials of the Electoral Commission?
Yeah, I think so. Because
to come here and give civic education to the people of Uganda and answer the questions.
We definitely have it on our plans. We definitely have it on our plans.
My sister here on Namuga, who is complaining as if
but this is public information.
As if there is anybody non-partisan.
No, this is public.
We definitely have it in our plans.
This is public information. This is public information.
Hold on a point, Honorable Namuga. Let me come to Dr. Sarah Bilete. Dr. Sarah, we have heard about the numbers. The NRM party register book has 18 million. In fact, if you look very closely, it is slightly even more than what the National Independent Electoral Commission has. Is it because this is a mass party and we should believe, or maybe we should be suspicious?
Well, there are only 2 possible explanations for this. One is that my experience with the previous yellow book, many people in villages put their names down in the yellow book for prevention of witch hunt or intimidation, or when they need to process few certificates for services in the district, You might be harassed if the security, it goes to security committee chaired by RDC. So people in my village everybody would go to write their names in the yellow book for avoidance of that victimization, discrimination, or intimidation. So this could be a repeat of that. They are just dictatorializing. So people are registering. If you come to them, they say, but I'm an NRM member. They think it is a measure. It gives you safety, but it also gives you access to services. And that shows you the problem we have of patronage, of discrimination in the delivery of services to Ugandans. And it's not surprising, because even the chairman of NRM, who is the president of the country, has on several occasions told people in Nansana, you are in darkness because you voted badly. People with bad roads in Wakiso, you have bad roads because you voted badly. So that discrimination even starts from the leadership. Once you are a president of a country, you are a president of everybody, regardless of whether they supported you or not. So that's what the people want to avoid by registering with NRM. The second possible explanation for this is that according to the recent released National Census report, we are likely to have 22 plus 5 million voters if people register. So there is an increase from the previous, there will be an increase from the previous 18 million. Actually, the Electoral Commission is preparing for an estimate of about 5 million new voters. So that also could explain the dynamics. The third issue is what Honorable Dombo has explained, that they are registering children. And according to the same census report of 2024, the children are 50% of the population. And the majority of these are teenagers. So those three dynamics might explain the numbers.
Well, I think one said that they registered 16-year-olds,
yes,
hoping that by now the 16-year-olds have turned 18, because every day somebody turns 18. Anyway, that's what we know. So Honorable Dombo, would you want to maybe give more light on how you miraculously did this?
No, there is no miracle, because the registration was put in the open. We made the announcements in public. And the register is going to become a public document once the final copy is signed off by the members of the Central Executive Committee, once the report is done. Even you in the opposition, you'll be very free to come and access the copy of the register. If you want, members who are going to contest in NRM will be free to access a copy of the register, to go back and validate and check on the numbers that they have. So NRM is leading in showing the transparency for the various reasons.
For the first time.
Are you going to let the submission by Dr. Birete that actually people were herded into the yellow book by coercion?
Nobody has been coerced. That is her,
my finding,
perhaps a judgment. But given her previous statements about the same exercise, I wouldn't be surprised. But for me, this is a transparent exercise. This register is going to be a public document, and people will be free. And for us here, we are members. Each of us comes from a village. Let each of us, including Honorable Namuga, pick a register for NRM and go with it.
Find others and
go with it to your place. You let us, you help us. Because we are going to have a village baraza when we finish on the last day of the exercise. And the purpose of this village baraza is the chairman to stand with the register and begin reading. Number one is Annette. Then they say yes. Number two, Solomon. That one died. Then you cross. Previously, what had the problem during the previous elections? We had individuals who went and sat because you wanted to compete with your opponent, and people in big clans. Somebody would go and delete the names which come from a particular clan in order to enable that they compete successfully against their opponents. So in order to avoid that, the national chairman has guided and said this time we must have a village baraza on the last day of validation, so that you read through, and once you have read and crossed, that will be the cut-off period. Beyond that period, there will be no additional name, and there will be no deduction until the primaries have been conducted.
Honorable Namuga, does that
But
worry
no,
you?
it does. Automatically it does. Do you know what is going to happen? Intimidation class 1-1 is going to take place. They will come to for example, village. You know, the rural setup is different from an urban setup. They will come and tell them, you know what, whoever is not registered in this book, Operation Wealth Creation, you will not get coffee.
PDM.
You will not get, PDM is a bit hard because the 1 million might not reach everywhere. But they will tell you Operation Wealth Creation where they have coffee, they have pigs, they have cows. So whoever is not registered in that book will not access such programs. And for purposes of security,
that's why
I'm telling you, it is, I mean, people are worried of their businesses. Entering a yellow, failing to enter a yellow book in a village might be problematic for anyone who has failed to do so. So for me, really, let me not hope that this is not a trick for the NRM to intimidate people.
So if somebody is coerced, and you use the tricks to make somebody become a member of NRM, how will that one affect the process of voting on the last day when they are not using the yellow book?
Because the yellow book, there is, Mr. Kamara, there is another dimension to these numbers. Okay. They are preparing the country for possible rigging. Because when they announce everywhere that they have 18 million, tomorrow if they say we've got 10, some of our members didn't vote, it's easier to justify using inflated numbers.
Hold on to your points. We're going to take a break, and on the spot, we'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Kamara. My guest tonight, I have Mr. Emmanuel Dombo, Director Communications at the NRM Party. I have Honorable Goret Namuga, Member of Parliament representing Mawogola County, and Dr. Sarah Vireti, from the Center for Constitutional Governance. And if I may begin with you, Dr. Sarah, now. You know, the display of the voters' register begins on Monday. That means we are into the mood of campaigns full throttle almost. But we have spent the last 3-4 years talking about electoral reforms. I mean, we're going to have the election without electoral reforms. That may be sad, but what does that mean? That a lot of time is spent. In fact, I remember in 2019 when there was the former Deputy Speaker of Parliament then gave the Honorable Nwaga Wilfred to go and put his proposal as a bill.
The private members bill,
which never came to be. And of course COVID came in, and after COVID, Parliament forgot about that. The lack of reforms, what does that say about our democracy as we even move into another set of elections?
Well, the Honorable Nwagawa bill suffered the fate of the decision taken by the late Honorable Oranya to retire the business of the previous Parliament. Because it had passed through first and second reading, it was going for final reading, and he said he couldn't continue. And I think it was one of those irregular decisions that he made, because Parliament as an institution remains as an institution. You cannot say that this is the business of this bill. All the work of Parliament counts. And after that, then Parliament passed a decision that they will not entertain private members' bills regarding review of the Constitution, hoping that there will be an appointment of the Constitutional Review Commission, as the executive kept promising since the last Parliament. But as it turns out, this was just air. It's not something they really wanted to embark on. Because this promise that came in the previous term, they said that the other term has ended and there is no commission and there is nothing going on. So can we have substantial reforms in this year of campaigns? Because voting is January 12th. Basically, all the politicking will be done in this year. So even if we had reforms, these reforms would not impact the 2026 elections.
Why do you say so?
Because there is no time for preparation and implementation. We are halfway the roadmap for Electoral Commission. They will start updating voters on Monday up to 10th February. One of the challenges faced during the update, an amendment that we had wished to cause in the Constitution, is who is eligible to register. you realize that under Article 61 of the Constitution, the Electoral Commission is enjoined to register people who are already 18. But between January 2025 and January 2026, about 1 million people will turn 18. But they will not vote because the law says you must be 18 at the time of registration. So one of the proposals from civil society was that clause in the Constitution needs to be amended, especially since we have the national data through National Identification Registry, to say that Electoral Commission should register all people who will be 18 at the time of voting. So this excludes about 1 million or 2 in the process of voting, and it's a creature of the Constitution. And the period that the Electoral Commission uses to update register with a 1-year difference to voting excludes many people. This needs to change. So when you look at this defranchisation, and one of the victims will be my son, who will be 18 around June, so he cannot register to vote. But at the time of voting, he will be 18.
It's a good you're not a candidate.
Why?
Because you'd miss his vote.
But your son can vote out, can vote you out, depending. So the reforms, one reform that I think would immediately impact this election is the reform on full digitalization of our elections. The Supreme Court ordered that we need regulations for use of technology in elections. We've used technology for the last 2 elections, but we have no regulations governing the way we use elections. And if, we use technology in the elections, and if you follow the Amama Mbaba's petition of 2016, the Right Honorable Amama Mbaba's did ask for a backup of people who voted for certain areas that he wanted verified, and the Electoral Commission told the court that there was no backup. Something that was so irregular, that was an open lie, but because we don't have regulations on how we use technology in our elections, then you will have such things that would have improved the transparency of our elections not happening.
Okay, Honorable Namoga, I wonder what that means, especially if we have elections go on, and yet for many years we've been clamoring for reforms, and yet we needed reforms like yesterday. What does that speak to the integrity of the elections we're going to have?
When you speak about integrity, the only thing I can ask, have you ever had elections? If I'm to ask, have you ever had elections in this country?
I thought you...
Morally, can you talk about integrity when it comes to elections? Let's not behave as if we've not been living in Uganda for the past 20 years.
Did you rig yourself?
No, I'm asking. If you look at, for example, the 2021 elections, for you, how do you rate yourself as a country? Is that an election, free and fair election? To yourself, Patrick, was the 2021 an election?
That's why there was a consensus, Honorable Namoga. That's why there was a consensus that we should have reforms.
We must agree. We must agree that all the elections for the past 5 years, we've already had a scam. Number one, when you look at all the irregularities in the elections, do you mean that all these irregularities arise because of shortage of a law? We have the laws, but why do we have all these irregularities on and again? For example, look at the 2021, the one that I rightly participated in. Because for me, this was my first time in elections. I was in public service. But if you look at what we went through, my dear, Honorable Dombo, I'm in Parliament. But if I can narrate what I went through when campaigning, no one would wish to join this kind of work. People have been frustrated out of politics because of the way candidates are treated. So if I may ask, if you see the involvement of the army, the police in elections, is that legal? Is there anywhere where it is documented in the Constitution that you should beat people, you should arrest them, you should harass them, and mistreat whoever is your opponent? Where is that one written? If you look at, for example, the media space, Honorable Chagulanyi goes somewhere, the radio is switched off. Honorable Besigye goes somewhere, the radio is switched off. Where is that one written in our elections? So we should agree, this is indiscipline within the NRM. Honorable Sarah, even if we amended all the clauses, but without the political will to follow the law, we are wasting our time. The reforms are good, we need them, but what has happened to the current law? Where have we messed up? Look, you know, you were talking about digitalization. Yes, it's to some extent, because when you look at what happened in 2021 versus 2016, to some extent, because when you would bring a DRR form, it will be screened or scanned. Automatically, that is different from when somebody would bring hard copy results and they are entered in a computer. There was some kind of a difference. But I want to tell you, we have instances where boxes were stolen from the field. In broad daylight, the police comes and loads boxes. Put them away. Go and change whatever they want. We had electro areas where even the boxes did not reach. But I mean, they were pre-ticked and taken to the terrace center. So all the irregularities in elections arise because of lack of the political will by the NRM government to respect the rule of law. So otherwise, we wouldn't have suffered with whatever we have gone through. I would like to have amendments. Yes, how does the police? I mean, how do we see the army evolve itself in elections? All those are there. The Electoral Commission being independent but not independent. All those are there. You know, we just changed the word independent from the Electoral Commission to Independent Electoral Commission. But is it independent for now? For me, I should tell Ugandans we shall never have a free and fair election when it is the NRM in government. And at times I castigate whoever participated in the removal of the term limits and the age limit. That's why we are suffering, because the Dombos don't know when they are going. If they knew that for 10 years somebody will serve and go, you can willingly amend the constitution for the good of the country. But much as we may make so many amendments, without the political will of those occupying these offices, Sarah, we must appreciate that when someone is holding that head of this country, he is very empowered. He has your money. He recruits himself. All the employees of the Electoral Commission actually will have a bearing to State House. What are you going to do?
Yes.
So,
okay, let me go to
at the end of the day,
now every election,
yes, let's have Emmanuel
shall be recruiting a new secretary.
Let's have Emmanuel Dombo respond, because you also know that maybe electoral reforms are needed. And actually, the Supreme Court, in the presidential petitions, I think of Honorable Amama Mbabazi, the Supreme Court also recommended electoral reforms. And even you yourselves, as a government, you needed them. You said they are needed. But how come the private members' bill said no?
They should implement those. Implement those.
So why has it been so hard for us to have these reforms?
I don't know. But it is our desire as a country that there should be continuous improvement in whatever we do. Because I want you to look at the elections when we first started going through the general elections, soon after the constitution had been promulgated. You saw that we used to have presidential elections on different days with the parliamentary elections. But progressively, there has been continuous improvement. And if there are any proposals that should improve the quality of elections in Uganda, it is something that is welcome for everybody, because it improves the quality of elections, the way we select our leaders, and that also perhaps it may help us to see the quality of the leaders who are elected. That because the processes have been good and transparent, even the outcome will be transparent. I want to tell you that is the law inadequate? I don't think so. Is there room for improvement? Absolutely yes. But under the current law, Honorable Nambugan team were elected and they became the second biggest party in parliament. She was elected and declared the winner by the same Electoral Commission she's criticizing. Not because she's so powerful that she overpowered the police she's talking about, but because she was elected under the same system with its own shortfalls, and she has succeeded. She has been a very successful member of parliament. I believe, Honorable Namuga, using your vintage position as a member of parliament, you could work with other members of parliament and find out whether it is possible. But going with what this roadmap which the Electoral Commission has published, many people think that the elections and nomination is going to be in around September, October. No. The nomination and the election of special interest groups is going to come far much earlier. So when you look, if the improvements or electoral reforms are intended to affect these coming elections, I want to tell you that apparently looking at the roadmap of the Electoral Commission, there is no room, there is no time. Nobody can deceive you on that one. I don't know whether the resources are there. It is the members
There's
of
no
parliament.
room and there's no time, and it appears that has been intentional.
Intentional. It is
That's the
intentional.
thing. That's what we're talking about.
By
Because
who?
by government.
I don't think so.
Yes, because, you know, before bringing a private member's bill arises when government has failed. You bring a private member's bill because he knows they went to Chankwanzi and made a resolution to fail any private member's bill that arises. So it is the responsibility of government to bring up some of these laws. It is their responsibility to mandate. They have a legislative agenda. Go back and revise your legislative agenda for these 5 years. They have a slot for electoral reforms. They have it. What have they brought?
So, Dr. Birete, what do you make of the current Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, also who doubles, I suppose, as President General of the Democratic Party, who also came in saying he's going to bring in the reforms, and now where we have reached, the reforms cannot happen?
Honorable Norbert Mao means well, but we told him that he would not influence NRM. One person cannot change a decision of NRM whose failure or whose decision not to implement reforms, constitution and electoral, is deliberate, just to take advantage of a tilted ground to keep power. Because as Honorable Dombo says, he doesn't know why we don't have reforms. Rightly so, maybe, because he sits at the Secretariat, but as a member of SEC, he sits in the top organ of NRM, which is the party in power, so you should know. Even that answer is neither here nor there. Honorable Kamara, I want to inform viewers that part of the directives...
Is that a prophecy?
Of what?
Honorable.
I mean, why not? Yes, part of the Supreme Court recommendations was that reforms should take place in the first 2 years of Parliament. We are in the 4th year of Parliament, and there are no reforms. Or maybe we are in the 5th year up to May. By May, we shall enter the 5th year. So there are no reforms. Even that is a violation of the directives of Supreme Court. Supreme Court ordered for regulation. There were some reforms, some directives were implemented, but 3 were intentionally ignored. One is this one, to implement reforms within the first 2 years of Parliament. The second one is on the regulations governing use of technology. The third deliberate directive that was ignored is the clear punishment of government officials who engage in partisan campaigns, because NRM is the beneficiary of that. So these 3 directives are pending, and maybe Professor Sempewa should go back to court.
Let me come back to you, Honorable Namuga, because you are in active politics.
I wanted to ask a very simple question to the Honorable Dombo. When you look at the current election process and the way things move on, are you happy about how things are done? For you, if you sit home, can you comfortably say that at least we always have free and fair elections? Would you wish your son to join this kind of...
I've participated for 20 years. I was elected under the same system. And I want to tell you that I've never cheated an election. I've never been taken to court by the people I've competed with. So the process has been always good and fair. One thing which I've said here, I've asked that, is there room for improvement? Absolutely yes. Because there have been inadequacies. One of the challenges, for instance, I've looked at, why should a party be forced to go back to by-elections, or an individual to spend money in the by-elections, when the official of the Electoral Commission is the one responsible? And when you take to court, you don't take the officials to court. You take the Electoral Commission, but there will be no punishment for the individual who may have individually just taken a wrong decision as an individual and affects the outcome of the election. These are areas which can be improved, and it is incumbent upon the members of Parliament. Use your vintage positions in Parliament and engage across the aisle, because we are all beneficiaries of the same purpose. Because it should not say that you are seeking for electoral reforms because you want regime change, because that is totally different argument. But if the quality of the elections must be improved because of the reforms, let us all talk together, talk reform, and make sure that the quality of the election is improved. Whether time is enough, I don't think it is. And whether you are going to do much with this. Me, I know you were elected under the same law. So the current law, we can still conduct elections, and then you come back and do the reforms later.
Honorable Namuga, you are in active politics. As you go to meet the people back in Maogola, this time around, do you think you're going? Is it going to be any different, or are we likely to have same blood on the streets like in 2020? You know, almost 100 people shot dead, or are we meeting a completely different electorate? Considering now we have the Gen Zs who perhaps are also going to join to be on the register.
2025, I should say, is going to be tough. This electoral season is going to be tougher than was in the previous. Reason, we are dealing with somebody who wants to occupy the top seat through whichever means. And when my colleague Honorable Dombo was making response of how he perceives the current electoral space and what we go through, and the answers he gave, I felt like how I wish he can come to the opposition and see how we are treated. But leaving that aside, when you see what has started to happen, for example, having all the NRM cadres occupy the spaces of supervisors, that aside, you look at what we are going to go through for whoever wants to register as a voter, new voter, all the processes they are supposed to go through. This means if I want them to register, I must part with money to facilitate them move to every different level. And you know what corruption means to a country. You will not go to the GISO and a stamp is given for free. So all these are processes to frustrate the youth, because Mr. Museveni and his team knows this will not vote for them. So frustrate them so that they don't register. And it is going to affect the opposition, meaning we must invest in it. You must go back from 20th. I must camp in Zimbabwe to ensure that all these planned malpractices don't take place. Because the reason as to why they had to place NRM cadres everywhere is because if they happen to see those they perceive not to support the NRM, automatically will be frustrated not to register. So it is going to be so costly on our part. But even the other side, if you look at how it has been organized, some places it is a bit distant and far. You know, for example, in every in every parish, we shall have one point of registration, or we are going to put at every village. But for now, we have in a parish like 3 points. When it gets to the villages, it's a bit distant. And you know how these days how voters behave. When it comes to elections, you must put transport to correct them. So meaning as you get back to see them registered, you must also see how best you can move them from point to another. So it's going to be tight, but also we foresee investment by government using money. And lucky, they are lucky that for them, they just use the classified budget, they will use the taxpayers' money to invest in all these processes. As the opposition, we shall be using personal money. For them in the NRM, they have government resources to waste in all this. So we are seeing the NRM as a party being in power. They have already money, they have resources to invest in all this. And it is anticipated and planned that there are those areas, for example, in Uganda, they're going to heavily invest here. So it's not going to be a walkover. They are going to heavily invest in the central region because it is perceived they want to take over like any other party. But let's hope that they don't use force as it has been. Let them not use police as it has been, because it is going to be chaos all over. We are going to tell the youth to fight for their rights. You know, this tendency of taking people for granted, I doubt whether it's going to be the same. Fight for their rights? No, you've seen how things are happening now. You think you will bring the policemen to just disorganize the whole process and we take it for granted? We are also going to equally mobilize. If they don't behave, we shall also...
Mobilize to do what?
No, you mobilize them to fight for their right. Your vote is your right. Anyone who denies here a right to register, because this is the intention. If yes, we are going to petition for tomorrow, leave me submit last. I'm going to submit my petition tomorrow to the Electoral Commission about the supervisors. But I'm telling you the intention of the NRM, to have NRM cadres registers. They will come late, you will not have any power over them. Somebody makes a decision to come at 10, what will you do?
Mr.
Come
Kamara,
at 10,
okay. Leave
early. What will you do?
Mr. Kamara, I just wanted to inform my friend that the NRM you are choosing, the Vice President lost the elections of this country.
To who?
Senior ministers to the opposition.
But you know what?
And all these accusations which you are talking, it has been the same Electoral Commission which presided. When a Vice President of an NRM government lost an election, including other senior government ministers.
But it's
so that one,
where?
so to accuse
Honorable,
to accuse NRM to have rigged the elections,
Honorable
and we lost
Dombo,
all these ministers,
are you aware
then
that your
I don't know
chairman-
how that type of choose.
Are you aware that your chairman, during the memory of General Ronda, accused the Electoral Commission of rigging in Uganda?
Perhaps they did, because
Why didn't he adduce evidence?
you know, the evidence became available to the chairman after the time for election petition had passed.
Sure.
But now he decided to use the evidence in order to improve the quality of the processes,
Where is
in order
the
to prevent,
evidence? We are
in order
looking
to
for it.
prevent,
Where is the
in order to prevent that thing from your occurrence.
Honorable, is
But
the
also one of the things I want to tell
One at
my
a time.
friend, that it takes two to tango. You see, if you listen to the people who go for elections and what they say, me, I would just appeal that let all of us remain civil and let us comply with the law, because that is what we're supposed to do. And besides that, when you go back to Parliament, push the Committee of Legal to ensure that they provide enough resources to the Electoral Commission so that they can conduct civic education.
Okay.
It should save you your budget. Saying I'm going to camp in Zimbabwe, let the Electoral Commission conduct civic education so that everybody is informed, other than only you, because you care in Zimbabwe. How about other areas where the members of
All
Parliament
right, Manuel, before we take a break very quickly, Dr. Sarah, your issues of malpractice are complicated, but do you believe when the president said Noop stole his 1 million votes? Actually, he's on record saying that.
Yeah,
Was that a
yes.
joke? Was that a joke? Or for real?
I think it was a joke because
How could it be a joke?
no. Let me first submit.
That's Noop
I
stole
think-
1 million votes of the president?
I think it was a joke because nobody has seen this evidence, this so-called evidence. Two, why do I think it is a joke? I think it was aimed at undermining the opposition in Uganda, but also shaking the Electoral Commission to lose evidence in their work. Because where is this evidence? This is a very serious statement.
1 million
Can we
votes
have the evidence?
and the head of the Electoral Commission still sits there? How can you
Why didn't he fire the team?
preside
He's the
over
one
a
who
loss of 1
confirmed
million and you still
he confirmed
continue?
their contracts.
Okay, we're going to take a break, and on the spot we'll be right back. But when we come back, I'll open the line so that you two at home or wherever you are, you can have your say. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Amara. My guest tonight, I have Honorable Emmanuel Dombo, Director Communications at the NRM. I have Honorable Goret Namuga, Member of Parliament representing Mawogola, and Dr. Sarah Virete from the Center for Constitutional Governance. You know, let me take this, because you are from CCG. We have Ugandans who would have wanted to participate in elections. Like, for example, almost 1 million people are into the Middle East. We have a bigger number in South Africa, in America, all over the world, Ugandans and diaspora. What will it take for the Ugandans and diaspora to actually participate in these elections? By the way, remittance is such a big deal for Uganda's economy by Ugandans in diaspora. So they have a big stake in this country.
Yes, if you look at countries in the East African community, it's almost only Uganda, South Sudan, and who are not allowing Ugandans in diaspora to vote. For South Sudan, it's understandable that they are still failing to hold their first election after the referendum for independence. But Uganda has been holding regular elections, although the other element of the elections, the credibleness, freeness, and fairness, has not been achieved yet. But at least the regular element has been achieved. We have failed a simple duty of enabling citizens of this country to vote from wherever they are, especially those who work in the diaspora. Counsel Stephen Karari went to court in 2020, and the Attorney General over the vote of diaspora and prisoners. In the same year, the Attorney General and the Electoral Commission signed a consent agreement begging for time to integrate measures needed for diaspora to vote, and they promised that they will vote in 2026. But as the Electoral Commission embarks on update of the voter register, there is no mechanism 5 years down the road for the diaspora and prisoners to vote, and the Attorney General and the Electoral Commission are both proceeding in contempt of court. And I've seen messages from Honorable, Counsel Stephen Karari saying that he will not hesitate to go back to court with contempt proceedings. So it's not fair, and maybe the NRM is scared because many people in diaspora support opposition.
Why do you say so?
Yeah, because many people in diaspora support opposition, and NRM...
How do you conclude that?
No, but when you look at activities in diaspora, at one time even NRM found the problems holding their schedules in European countries, running from venue to another because of human rights violations. People would petition countries, then you find the venue has been denied, then they sit in boxes. So they don't have, maybe that's why, that's my suspicion, that's why they are worried of the diaspora vote. Because I don't see any other reason why they should continue to deny sovereign citizens their right to vote, yet they enjoy their remittances, they enjoy their money. Just over Christmas, 3 offices, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Office of Prime Minister, and the President held 3 different conferences to lure diaspora members who were here for Christmas on how more they can invest in the country. So they want to enjoy people's money without enabling them platforms to exercise their sovereign rights. I think this hypocrisy should be checked.
Honorable Namuka, you're part of the diaspora having a right to vote.
That has been a question from many, or most of them, and our answers have been always the Electoral Commission has not done its part. But as the Honorable Sarah has said, really, if we are getting a lot of money, taxes, from these young men and women, we are getting a lot of money from them, but the Electoral Commission cannot organize an election or participation in the electoral process. It is intentional. Whoever goes to diaspora, a few of them have decent jobs, a few of them. Most of them have left because of the suffering around here. We have doctors washing toilets, we have doctors working in supermarkets. So I doubt whether any of them can vote for the NRM government. So it's because of fear that Mr. Museveni and his team cannot, you cannot separate the Electoral Commission from the president incumbent. No, you cannot. So that fear alone cannot allow them register the diaspora. And some time back, the Electoral Commission had, when we were talking about the prisoners, that could be the diaspora, it might be expensive for you, but what of the prisoners that are within country? What stops you from having them, participate in this voting within Uganda? What stops them? How expensive? Because we are asking, what budget do you need to have these participate? The Electoral Commission has never come up with a submission of a requirement of the budget. How much do you need?
First is the law.
How I wish. Yes, we need the law.
They need the amendment in the law. If you may allow me, 2 things are needed. One is a law declaring prison centers as polling stations. Also declaring embassies and consular, where we have presence, about 35 of them, as polling stations. And then you provide the mechanism of how people will vote.
When the Electoral Commission was making its, it was the budget from work paper for the financial year, that was 2022-23, when they are making submission of what they intend to do under legal and these other spaces. Because automatically we must provide the budget for that. For any amendment, to initiate any process, legal process, you need money to initiate processes. But they have not shown interest at any time. So, Sarah, it is intentional. Because when the government wants a law, you will have it. At any time you want it. You will have it. But because they are not interested at all, they are not.
Honorable Emmanuel Dombo, is the issue of Ugandans voting abroad something that you would want to push for?
I admire Ugandans and their courage. Because we're interested in making experiments in some of the things that don't work. Because you are talking about a country which cannot even sustain its missions abroad.
So
because of the budgetary constraints and limitations that we have. He's a member of parliament and he knows the committees that have been coming. The other time I saw Mwadanku Nyingi making a legitimate argument. There are so many Ugandans who are outside there, we even don't know where they are. Even to register them to know that they are Ugandans. But these are so complicated issues.
If somebody has done an embassy into a casino, then
So I want to tell you that these are complicated matters,
No.
That like Dr. Sarah said, it will require amendment in the law, and we've just said that the time available is not enough for us to deal with.
What have we been doing for 5 years?
For us to begin even debating something which we know cannot work, and even the resources, even the Ugandans, right now there was an argument on the floor when they were talking about the missing Ugandans. Some people are saying that some Ugandans have run out of the country and they are hiding. The accusations and counter-accusations across the aisle. So, to even imagine that you are going to make regulations on how you are going to look after the process of voting, outside, who will construct the register, who will be the presiding officers abroad, how about members who are in countries where we don't have missions or consulates, how is the exercise going to be conducted? This is something that requires a research. We need to benchmark with other countries that have done it and find out the budget implications, whether our budget can fund it. But we want to thank the members of the diaspora and their contribution to the economy. It is something that is very good. But for my sister, Onanamuga, I don't think there are any Ugandans who have Ugandan doctors who are abroad and they are washing toilets.
Are you sure?
Don't disparage the training.
Sure?
I'm very sure. Unless you are going to say that the quality of training of our doctors here, that's what they could do. I don't think so.
Okay, we're not going to get into that, but our time is almost out.
I just wanted to respond
I'm actually giving you the opportunity to do your concluding remarks.
Okay,
Sarah.
thank you so much. I'll first respond to Honorable Dombo briefly. Honorable Dombo shouldn't scare people that allowing diaspora members to vote is some sort of rocket science. Even where we don't have physical embassies, there are embassies overseeing those countries. So it is not true that we have no mechanism. What Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda can do, are you saying that we are far undeveloped than Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda? Then why do you deceive people that we are a middle-income country, we are steady progress, if you think you cannot do simple things that other countries are doing? What? As I conclude, I want to conclude on two aspects. One is that we have rolled out a voter campaign to mobilize young people to vote. According to census report, 10.8 million voters will be young people. People who are already aged 18 and above. And we have run a campaign of not too young to vote. We want these young people to know that their vote counts and they should participate in the exercise. Second is an appeal to the stakeholders of elections that Uganda deserves better, that Uganda belongs to all of us. If you cannot compete fairly, keep away from the exercise.
Thank you very much, Honorable Namuga.
In a second, to respond to Honorable Dombo's submission in regard to the budget, we have the money. We have the money, only that it is spent in areas that are not relevant to Ugandans. So never speak about lack of funds in the budget, because he knows how nugatory they have been in lines of spending in areas that don't help Ugandans. Number two, he knows that 10 trillion has been spent in corruption, and corruption is them, that is their money. He knows how much he takes underclassified the expenditure. So it is about the political will to undertake some of these exercises. Number two, he knows that every 5 years they draw a legislative agenda that would be dependent on the previous court resolutions on everything. But it is because they are not interested in this. If the NRM is interested in anything, they will get the money. Whether it is borrowed, whether it is got from where, they will have it. So let's not speak about the budget to explain reasons as to why we've not implemented some of this. But I want to just amplify my voice when it comes to issues of elections. Dr. Sarah, many people have run out of elections because of the way we are treated.
I know.
I'm telling you, we are mistreated.
Even as election observers, we are arrested.
It is a war front. It is a war front. Civil society was purely pulled out of this.
Yeah.
The civic space in regard to supervision of elections, you have been scared, and people fear to come to join this. Many of the civil societies have been forced to close. So really, we are going through hell. This is not an election. This is a war front. So civil society, you must come up. So Mr. Dombo, you may ask, how did I come here? Take time to review. We have, at least technology has simplified some of these things. Review what people have gone through, through elections. Many people have been killed. You saw the 59 that were killed in Kampala here. You saw how Kyagulanyi went through all the elections. In Zimbabwe, he was denied even a single point to campaign. In Zimbabwe, much as we had written to the police and the DPCs and permission was given, he did not stop at any point. So this, we have never had an election. A free and fair election, we have not. But we are prepared again. For the war front, we are prepared. At any cost, we shall get there. But I want to tell you, this is our country. I've been telling him before we came here that whether he likes or not, there will be a time when he will sit home. He will sit to observe what the other generation will be doing. But you've done us bad.
All right.
These people have, you know, you've done us bad. You need to be cast, not you, but the regime.
Well, I want to thank my friends.
You have enough shock absorber to absorb all this.
I want to tell you that this type of talk is exactly what happened at the funeral of Honorable Segirinya, and is not helpful to the country at all. We must all de-escalate. I'm sure she may have gone through hell.
But she's coming from a certain position.
But in Parliament, she's going through heaven.
Oh,
and if you know what the members of Parliament are enjoying, for me, I want to tell you that they need to go through that hell in order for them to find out what exactly is going. Because this is the circumstances.
Really?
You heard what Bob Wine did. He called a press conference and gave notice that he was going to resist. Now, if you are going to be a presidential candidate and you are giving notice to the security agents that you are going to defy the regulations or the laws as prescribed, what do you expect them to do? And when there is confrontation, do you blame the security or do you blame somebody who gave pre-notice that this is going to happen? But I want to tell you that Uganda belongs to all of us. We have worked so well and so much that there are not many Ugandans really who have run out of the country because of political persecution. I want to tell you, that is why, even when the leader of the opposition, Honorable Kyagulanyi, or even the members of Parliament, when they leave this country to go and choose NRM or President Museveni, they go with the return ticket. They will jump on the next flight back home, go through the airport, they are received as VIPs, and they are escorted back home. The challenges that we have, we can work together as members of the opposition, members of the ruling party, in order to improve. But let us de-escalate, let us use the language, which will finally leave the people of Uganda united. And we'll try to avoid what happened during the burial of our brother Segirinya.
Honorable Emmanuel Dombo, I want to thank you so much for your submission and for having a tough skin to be able to take in all this. But I suppose this is what you're built for, and you speak for a party that has always to do accountability issues, so this will have to keep coming. And as we go 2025, more of this, I suppose, will be coming. Honorable Namuga, you're such a dazzling person, you've been phenomenal. I think the people of Mahogola did a good thing, and Dr. Sarah, you've always been phenomenal. I want to thank you so much. And the people of Uganda, I suppose sometimes you can see these politicians, they look so much in conflict, but they are not. Let me tell you, I sit on a vantage position to listen to them. And sometimes I escort them in the corridors of power when they are moving. These are friends. Sometimes I even talk about business, about money, about investments. So if you are there and you're a voter, please don't be deceived to the extent of you picking a panga or a stick to beat your friends when these guys are sharing a glass of wine in a top 5 4-star hotel somewhere in Kampala. Good night and God bless Uganda.